Halo 3 has a great campaign, and I don't think anyone who's played it would debate that. It's a well-crafted story with great gameplay and a very refined sandbox. However, this campaign was actually cut down, either due to time constraints or just the failure to realize certain levels during development. That being said, there's actually a fair bit of cut content in Halo 3, such as the Mantis vehicle, which ended up as a two-legged walker in Halo 4, a weapon called the Plasma Mortar, and even a cut Flood enemy. However, I recently stumbled across some files within Halo 3's maps that, as far as I can tell, have never been seen before and relate to Halo 3's cut campaign missions. So without any further ado, let's dive in and see what Bungie left behind. Before we get into the first mission, it's important to know why we are certain that these missions exist. While ex-Bungie employees have discussed them in vague senses before, we can be sure that they exist simply by looking at the actual game map's internal file names. As you can see here, Halo 3's maps are labeled as follows, with 3 numbers and then an internal name, starting with 050 intro and ending with 130 epilogue. If we were to ignore these cutscene missions and look at the actually playable levels, we would start with 010 jungle and end at 120 Halo. What this looks like is basically levels 1 through 12. However, in total, there are only 9 of these non-cutscene maps, which implies that there are 3 missing missions here. Well, if you take a look at the gaps, the missing missions would actually be numbered 060, 080, and 090. Now we're going to go ahead and look at all of these, and to start with, we're going to look at 060. Let's start with 060, the first cut mission I accidentally stumbled across in my modding ventures. In the order of missions, 060 would have come right after Floodgate. By poking around in Floodgate's files, or 050 Flood Voi's files, we can find certain game assets that are labeled as 060 Flood Ship. This would seem to be the internal name for our first cut mission. The name seems to imply we would be on a, well, flood ship. There actually are quite a few game-ready assets from this mission, and it is by far the most complete. In total, there's 3 completely finished objects from this mission. You can see them here. The main one is this giant ship reactor core that you were supposed to destroy in order to blow up the ship and, in turn, the entire city. At the beginning of Floodgate, you can even hear Miranda's dialogue where she talks about how we're going to find this reactor and destroy the flood ship by overloading it.
Find the crashed flood ship, overload its engine core. We either destroy this city or risk losing the entire planet.
However, that never actually happens, and it's just completely forgotten about. Instead, you end up going into this flood ship very briefly at the end of Floodgate, and then you just get extracted through the Phantom before you ever have a chance to explore it very much at all. Apparently, Bungie turned the rest of this cut mission into the level Cortana, which is why the doors on Cortana look more like a Covenant cruiser's doors rather than ones on High Charity in Halo 2, and why those giant reactors are also found on Cortana as well. Essentially, most of the cut floodship level is now the level Cortana. There was even going to be this crazy boss battle of sorts where you fight the Gravemind with this damaged scarab. It's also not a coincidence that you find the Cortana holotape at the end of Floodgate either. You find her holotape in the crashed Covenant ship in a very similar way to how you found her in Cortana. Both of these levels are extremely similar due to this connection. You were originally going to find Cortana on the flood ship, and she would be there with you as you fought the Gravemind in your damaged scarab. But since flood ship is essentially Cortana now, her discovery has been completely shifted toward the end of the game instead. Finding these leftover assets on Floodgate was extremely interesting, and if this mission had actually been left in the game, the story of Halo 3 would have been shockingly different. Going back to the start of Floodgate now and hearing Miranda's dialogue feels really out of place, knowing now what the original plan was for Floodgate and the Flood ship mission. Before I move on to the next cut mission from Halo 3, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to my channel if you're a fan of the Halo series, cut content, custom mods, and all that good stuff. And if you're enjoying, a like on this video would be appreciated. Alright, let's move on to the next mission. The next mission up would have come right after the Ark, also known as 070 Waste. Have you ever noticed how the multiplayer map Guardian looks completely different from anything else in Halo 3? Well, that's because there was supposed to be a campaign mission that it was based off of. However, that of course never happened, and we only ended up getting this cool greenish tinted Forerunner forested map for multiplayer. However, I dug through all of Halo 3's game files, and I found something almost nobody has ever seen before. Even though Bungie seemingly cut out everything in the game related to this mission, they forgot a single file left over on Savo Highway of all missions. It's this image file right here. The image itself isn't particularly interesting, but the file name definitely is. This is the last leftover asset from this mission, and it's labeled as Levels Solo 080 Forest Sky Bitmaps Patchy Fog Generic. Even though I'm sure some other Halo modders have seen this file in the past, I have never once heard about it. So for right now, I'll officially say that after 13 years, we can say with certainty that right after the Ark mission, we were supposed to load into 080 Forest or Guardian Forest and explore a large green Forerunner forest with the same design as Guardian. Now, of course, the name of the map, Guardian, is taken, like I said, from the original name of this level. In this level, you would have had to go through a massive green forest with an art style exactly like the multiplayer map of the same name. In the mission, you were supposed to fight a massive Forerunner creature known as, you guessed it, a Guardian. It was described in an IGN article as a deep green, angular, machine-like object with a single glowing red eye at the top. You would have been able to fight the Guardian, steal its eye, and use it as a weapon. Probably something like a sentinel beam, but way stronger. Now, I wonder, where did 343 get the idea for the Guardians in Halo 5? Anyway, it's just a shame that we never got to see this mission, but it explains why Guardian has so many cool and unique assets like the alien birds, deep green fog, the super cool tree cover, and all those dark Forerunner medals. The final cut mission from the game, 090, I'm afraid to say is nowhere to be found in the game's files. As far as the game assets go, there is nothing, and trust me, I looked through every campaign mission and multiplayer map. Now, what we do know is that this mission was supposed to take place directly after the cut forest mission and right before Cortana. It's possible this was going to be the Forerunner city level that Bungie briefly discussed in certain vidocs, or even as a part 2 of the forest mission, but the hard truth is, we just don't know. This mission is certainly the most mysterious and has the least known about it. While the other two are pretty clear cut, we'd have to rely on an ex-Bungie employee to let us know what this mission was intended to be. If you have any information on this level, I'd love to know in the comments down below. Unlike some other YouTubers, I do read the comments and I'd love to hear what you think. I'll create a channel in my Discord server discussing this missing mission, so if you want to go in there and try and figure out what it's all about and try to dig up some information, a link to my Discord server is in the description below. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more Halo content like this. I'm Rejected Shotgun, and I'll see you in the next video.